It's good that metro stations are called according to their territorial location, dependent on proximity to streets and neighborhoods, or in directions, for example. Passengers don't have to read tea leaves to find where the exits from the station lead to. It's especially convenient for visitors. In addition, it's not necessary for the capital's residents who live in one part of Kyiv to know their way around the rest of the city. On a megacity scale, this is most often the case, if you are not a hereditary taxi driver or a map enthusiast. If not, there is a navigation system, of course, but still, in most cases, it's more convenient to navigate by name. Here is Zhytomyrska station, so from here it is closer and best way to get to Zhytomyr, well, or in that direction. By the way, this is the only station in the capital where it's spelled out in the name Zhytomyrska metro station, on the track wall, in large letters. The station is located in the west of Kyiv, under one of the city's main highways, Prospect Peremogi, or Victory Avenue, at the intersection of Semashko and Fedor Khrushchevsky streets. You can enter the city only through these underpasses and get on one or other side of the avenue. The cluster that was already behind Svetoshin, which they began to build and design in the late 1990s, initially contained 4 stations. One of them was later excluded from the project without construction even starting. This is the station, which was listed as Vernadsky Avenue, although Vernadsky is a boulevard, but for some reason this name was often found. It would have been between Svetoshin and Zhytomyrska. Now there is such a very long drive, almost 2 kilometers. Next was the station Prospect Peremogi. This is Zhytomyrska station now. Prospect Paladina. This is Akademmistechko now. Well, and Novobilichi, which was planned for the distant long term. The part of the metro, at least for now, is not planned to be extended westward, and Zhytomyrska itself was opened along with neighboring Akademmistechko as part of the last launch site of the Svetoshin-Brovary line, May 24, 2003, Kyiv Day. By design, it is a single-vault shallow station. When it was being designed, an original technical solution was used here. They placed the platform and the lobby of the cashier halls under a single arch, so the space seems simply huge. It turned out to be a kind of single urban complex below ground. Fluorescent lamps are located above the platform. They highlight the arches with a soft yellow color. On the floor of the station there's gray and red granite with gabbro inserts, black rock, a type of granite that has even greater strength and durability. And the track walls are lined with white and brown marble. Arched fields are arranged in those places where the name of the station is indicated. It looks modern, and you immediately understand where you are. In fact, the construction of metro stations is a very costly affair all around the world. The estimates include numbers with lots of zeros, and the responsibility is enormous because we're talking about transporting people underground, and for the end consumer, for us passengers, numbers and underground aesthetics are not as important as convenience, comfort and safety.
Где-то архитектура примерно до 10% идет.
Architecture goes up to about 10%, 7 to 8, well, each station is different. Materials, 8 to 9, well, like that, up to 10%. Well, of course, the rest is expensive. Drilling progress is very expensive, construction of the tunnel itself, very expensive equipment, especially now that microprocessor technology is used for automating train movement. There it's connected with individual programs, which are also very expensive. Compared to marble and granite, it is expensive, very expensive.
По сравнению с мрамором и гранитом, это дорого, очень дорого.
And everything in the metro is subject to strict rules, from the design stage to its operation. There's no other way. For example, according to fire safety standards, in the construction of a metro, only those materials are used that either do not burn at all or whose properties enable them to withstand high temperatures for a long time. This is expensive, but effective. We love the metro not only because it saves us time and for the colorful interiors of stations. Even in the harshest frosts, the metro is warm, and in the heat it is cool. The constant temperature is provided by a powerful ventilation system. It has special requirements. Ventilation is vital for the metro. Passengers do not even know how many special units work to maintain a normal microclimate below ground, so that we're neither hot nor cold, and the air is clean. Each ventilation unit has two fans, and the principle is this: we have one ventilator on the block between stations and one on the station. Why so? There are two ventilation modes. In summer, fresh air is supplied to the station, and then it is issued to the surface through the block. In winter, the opposite takes place. Cold air is supplied to the block, and spent air is sent upstairs to the station. Why? Because if cold air is supplied to the station in winter, people will just freeze, and while it moves from the block to the station, it will already be warmed up a bit and get there. Each station and all tunnel blocks must have a ventilation shaft, which is needed for the continuous exchange of air. This shaft consists of three parts: a camera, a barrel, and a ventilation kiosk. Many people must have seen such structures on the surface, near stations, for example. For example, like this one, right behind the bars, a well begins which goes down, right down to the tunnels, where the metro trains go. It is in this mine that huge tunnel fans are installed, which literally suck air into the underground space with great speed. In the area of Zhytomyrska station, for example, the ventilation system looks exactly like that. Employees of the electromechanical service work here. They are responsible for ensuring that passengers in the metro have air to breathe. The ventilation influx is calculated so it can provide 50 cubic meters of air per passenger for an hour during the rush hour. That's plenty of air. This is enough for each passenger. Ventilation provides not only clean air for passengers, but also temperature control. In winter, it should not be less than 10 degrees on the blocks and 5 degrees on the stations. And in summer, 28 degrees should be the norm. That is no higher. This is the norm for the temperature of air. On the balance sheet of the capital's metro system, there are 216 ventilation units and 111 ventilation installations. Below ground, the entire economy is divided strictly into distances. Distances are in turn divided into plots. People work around the clock. Each one has his or her own area of responsibility. Their main task is to ensure the comfortable stay of passengers below ground. The system invented by engineers works as follows. In the inflow mode, the shift receives air from the surface and takes it to the block tunnels. And in the exhaust mode, on the contrary, it blows air from the tunnels to the surface. At the same time, the trains themselves act as a piston, pushing air flows through the tunnels. The dispatcher of the electromechanical service carries out monitoring. He not only monitors, but also controls the ventilation when necessary. Anything can happen, and the fan must be turned on from the influx to the reverse, and back if necessary. Naturally, the work schedule for the entire ventilation of the metro system has been drawn up, and it is approved by the metro senior managers, and it's up to us to do our business according to this schedule. Naturally, the dispatcher takes control only in emergency situations. The operating modes of the shaft change in winter and summer. Powerful installations in the ventilation chamber process up to 80 million cubic meters of air a day, so the optimum temperature is maintained in the metro, without the use of special heating or cooling equipment. Because first of all, electric trains themselves act as a source of heat. If you've noticed from a train arriving at a station, you can even feel the heat coming from below, from under the car. This is heat transfer. And the second source of heat in the metro is the passengers themselves. The more of them, the warmer it is. So the metro lives thanks to the most common laws of physics. Of course, for many people, the metro is the only acceptable transport for getting around the city. But it turns out that if you regularly use the metro, then this will be a bad effect on your health. This conclusion was made by British scientists. They believe that a large amount of harmful metal dust accumulates in the air of the metro, and for humans it is toxic. In the Kyiv metro, a special laboratory monitors observance of a comfortable microclimate for passengers. Information on the vital activity of each station and even on the blocks between stations flows here, in the literal sense of the word. For example, in such flasks, bottles and test tubes, here are water samples. There's quite a lot of water in the metro, because groundwater sometimes seeps into tunnels, especially in spring, together with reagents, which water the roads abundantly at street level. We take this water in the tunnels to monitor the quality of this water, so as not to pollute the environment. Like in any space below ground, the level of humidity inside the metro is very high. From here, for example, the smell of dampness can appear. Humidity, as well as its temperature, is regulated by the ventilation system. We take measurements of the temperature, humidity at all stations, on all lines, at least once a week. The CO2 level once every 2 weeks, that is 2 times a month. And we also measure the dust level 2 times a month. We also measure the temperature, humidity, and CO2 in the cashier halls. Air from the surface passes through special filters before it gets into the metro. They guarantee it is free of harmful impurities and exhaust gases, so it turns out that the microclimate below ground depends directly on the climate on the street, while there'll always be air in the Kyiv metro to breathe with. The doors are closing. Next station,